evening and welcome to Shameless Mayhem. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about scenarios. So originally I recorded about a 20-minute video describing 3 of our favorite scenarios, and I'll still use them as examples. But really what I found is, listening to the talk I was having, is that discussing the specific scenarios isn't as important as letting you know that, well, one, they are there, but that you want to think about these things. And the way you play one scenario to the next will not be the same. So for instance, one of the things we discussed first was Assault. Assault is the scenario that we here at Shameless Mayhem played the most when we started off. It's actually relatively straightforward. It's 5 rounds. First player to 8 points or has the most at the end of round 5 wins the game. The next scenario we happen to like would be King of the Hill. We just started playing this one. This one again can last up to 5 rounds. Highest score wins, or the first player to 8. And finally, we're also playing and enjoy quite a bit of Blitz. Now, Blitz is actually only 3 rounds, but you still have the high score at the end or first to 8. Now, what we learned playing through these different scenarios is that none of them play the same. For instance, Assault gives you a lot of time to develop your strategy. You got the time to develop things, to try and get more cards in your hands. If some characters require a little bit of setup, for instance, you have Dart. She likes to have hidden on her. You got a character like Gaia or Fiddler. You know, they really like to play their minions. There are things to think about in regards to that. If you've got Muter, he wants to be in a certain position before he attacks, because the less energy he uses, the more damage he can do. So you want to think about things like that when you're playing Assault, that you also know that you've got time to kind of weed things out. You might be able to, as we've done before in the playing Assault, is maybe I'll forego trying to score in round 1 to be in a better position for round 2 and beyond. Likewise, if you're too eager, if you're too aggressive in that first round, it can really come up and bite you in the butt later on. So because of this, we kind of found that Assault gives a lot of leeway in terms of the kind of team you can make. We didn't find a best team or things you should stay away from per se. And that really made it enjoyable. It gave us a lot of freedom to experiment. Now, if you go to aristeia.thegame.com, you can actually download the current scenario rules. They're at version 1.8 at the moment, and they'll continue updating that, so I'm looking forward to the next version, for instance. So, when we went from playing just Assault, and then we went over and started playing Blitz, it was a lot different. We kind of skimmed over the rules. Okay, this is how you score, but we didn't really put a lot of thought into how we were going to accomplish that. And that really influenced a lot more than we thought we was going to. For instance, one of the things we did in one game was have a very control-heavy group. And in Blitz, you don't actually have that luxury of time. So if you've got someone who needs a little bit of time to develop, you might not get it. Likewise, because again, Blitz is 3 rounds, first to 8 or 5 at the end of round 3. So you need to be kind of quick and focused on the results. You really want to maintain control as best you can. So when we were playing that, trying to figure out, okay, so maybe we should focus a little more on deep damage, the damage per round, and that was something. Then we found, tanking could be good, but you still get frags and you get victory points from the frags. That changes the dynamic of the game quite a bit. So having a fragile character there, they really need to justify their presence there versus someone who's a little, maybe not as tricksy, but still contributes to the team. So for instance, one time I tried it and I'm using Hexer, and she wasn't, at least for my playstyle, she wasn't really the best choice, whereas someone like Hannibal did better for me. So you need to start walking a little more of a tightrope. Your characters probably should be a little more versatile versus having specialists, so to speak. Now there's still a place for them, like for instance Maximus. Having someone who can't be killed has a definitive value there. But then, we're getting it. We're figuring it out. We're doing 2 out of 3 little mini-series because we're finding that, we can do 30-minute games, so the amount of time it takes to play 1 game of Assault, hey, you know what? We can have 3 games of Blitz. That's great. Then we decided to try King of the Hill, and the scoring zone never moves. Then all of a sudden, again, the assumptions we had built up with Assault and with Blitz weren't quite the same. So characters that can displace or switch positions with other characters suddenly became a lot more relevant than they had been in past scenarios. We found that Maximus's ability to not to soak up damage became that much more important, as did the ability to heal him. We found that Valkyrie was a tremendous character because she can't be moved out of the scoring zone, but at the same time she gets a giant bullseye put on her as a result. We find that taunting became very dangerous if it starts stacking and layering up because of things like that. And again, while we're going through 1 to 5 rounds, the fact that the scoring zone became a place that you could get frags and victory points as a result, again, sort of changed things up. I went very damage heavy in the game I had, and yet we really found out how badly taunt can mess up your plans. So a character we normally wouldn't do a whole heck of a lot of taunting, and all of a sudden it was like, whoa, hold on a second, this is kind of a big deal. Characters like Gata and their ability to dazzle, dazzle's one of my favorite things to begin with, but it really helps out in those situations. Characters that normally I just adore, like Wild Bill or Major Luna, their minimum ranges came into effect. So if you're taking them for damage, you have to give up on them for scoring, which means they have to kill. They have to get those frags in order to really justify their position in the team. And you start noticing that these team compositions change dramatically from scenario to scenario. And I think that's one of the reasons why I don't think I've seen a formalized tier list as of yet. Normally with any game, you're going to have a lot of theory crafting. You're going to have a lot of, well, who's best? And the answer is, for Aristeia, it depends on the scenario. And when you make your team, it should depend on the scenario. So go to www.aristeiathegame.com. Go to the download section. Go and get the current scenario list. Look at the ones you think are going to be fun, going to be interesting. Talk to your friends. But look at what they require in terms of scoring. How do you score? Why do you score? What's going on that you need to do to make this happen or to stop the other player from doing it? And you got to see how the little things are rewarded or punished by that. And start thinking about the characters you're going to pick based on their abilities to meet the scenario goals. So don't worry if you have a team that, I want to use that guy, he looks neat. I want to use her, she looks kind of cool, but she's just not good. chances are there's a scenario that they will actually blossom up in. And you will find that they're actually very powerful in that given scenario. There's one scenario that Gaia is actually expressly forbidden from using Wonderful Tactics cards. That's kind of telling that she's really powerful for that sort of situation. So anyways, that is basically a quick few thoughts on scenarios and scenario play. If you get into Aristeia, by all means, get into the scenarios. It'll give you a great amount of variety. It'll give you a wonderful amount of replayability. But it'll also help stretch you and let you choose characters you wouldn't normally pick, simply because they might be the better choice than your normal favorites. Thanks again for watching. If you like this, click like, subscribe, and check out some of our other videos here on YouTube. Aloha from Maui, aloha from Shameless Mayhem.